All right, so Kyoto's autumn foliage. It's legendary, right? People are obsessed with it. But what's the big deal? Like, yeah, fall colors are pretty, but what makes Kyoto so special? I mean, is it really more than just a bunch of leaves?
That's what we're going to find out. We've got all these articles here, and they go way beyond just, the touristy stuff. It's not just about where to go. It's about the why, the history, the science, the whole cultural side of things.
I've already peeked at some of these, and there's some seriously surprising stuff in here. Like, did you know there's a maple variety that basically means precious memories? The Iroha Momiji.
Ah, yes. That one's deeply tied to Japanese symbolism.
And some of the trees we'll talk about have been around for centuries, like literally watching over Kyoto's history.
It's that layering, the way nature and the human element are so interwoven. That's a big part of what makes Kyoto unique.
Okay, so one article made this point that I thought was really interesting. It said that Kyoto's autumn beauty isn't just about the leaves themselves. It's how those colors play off the city's architecture, all those temples and historic buildings. What do you think about that?
It makes sense, right? You've got these vibrant but temporary colors. They're fleeting, and they're set against these ancient structures. Buildings, gardens, some of which have been around for over 1,000 years. That contrast, that's powerful stuff.
It's like the city itself is reflecting on time passing, on those cycles of life and change and all that. It kind of reminds me of that concept wabi-sabi, finding beauty in imperfection and things that are impermanent.
You're spot on. Those fall colors embody that cycle, that transience. And then you've got those historic structures, this sense of enduring presence, even as things change around them. It's a powerful combination, especially in a place like Kyoto with its long history and all that.
Okay, let's nerd out a little on the science here. One article gets into the nuts and bolts of why those leaves change color the way they do. And it turns out it's not just about the types of trees. The climate in Kyoto plays a huge role.
Oh, absolutely. Temperature is key. Those leaves need a sustained period of cool weather to really kickstart the transformation. Something like 8 degrees Celsius or even lower.
So it's getting chilly that triggers it.
Well, it triggers a chemical process. See, chlorophyll is what gives leaves that green color. But as the temps drop, the chlorophyll breaks down. And as that happens,
the other colors are revealed, like they were hiding there all along.
Exactly. The yellows, oranges, reds, those pigments were always present. But the chlorophyll was masking them. So when it fades away, bam, fall colors.
I think a magic trick, nature's own reveal.
Yeah.
And Kyoto, tucked away in those mountains, gets those perfect autumn conditions, almost like it was designed that way.
Well, in a way it was. At least that's how it worked out. Speaking of trees, though, I was amazed to learn about how many different kinds of Japanese maples there are.
Me too. I thought maple is a maple, but apparently I was way off.
Oh, there's incredible diversity. Globally, there are over 150 varieties of Japanese maple, and Kyoto itself boasts 14 of those. 14. Each one a little different, the leaf shape, the shades of color it turns. It's mind-boggling, the spectrum you might encounter.
Okay, so we got to talk about some specific ones. First up, that Iroha Momiji you mentioned earlier, the one with the small, intricately shaped leaves, the classic maple leaf you see in all the art.
The quintessential Japanese maple, you could say. And it's got this cultural weight to it, too. In Hanakotoba, that's like the Japanese language of flowers. The Iroha Momiji is associated with precious memories.
I love that, being surrounded by those colors. It's almost like they trigger memories, right? Of past autumns, people we've known, times gone by.
It's a very personal experience for many. The visuals, the crisp air, that feeling of things changing, all of that evokes a sense of reflection, maybe even a bit of nostalgia. Like those colors themselves are a reflection of time passing, how nothing stays the same.
Makes you want to hop on a plane right now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Okay, another one they highlighted is the Umomiji. Much bigger leaves than the Iroha Momiji. But this is where I get lost with the Japanese. I know Momiji and Keita both mean maple, but the articles imply there's a subtle difference. Can you break that down?
Yeah, it's a bit nuanced. Momiji usually refers to the classic maple leaves, the deeply lobed ones, 5 or 7 points, that iconic shape. Keita is more of a catch-all term. It can include maples with less defined lobes or even leaves that are simple, no lobes at all.
So technically, they're both maples, but when we think fall colors, those gorgeous leaves, we're really picturing Momiji.
Exactly. It's the autumn maple, the one that really embodies the season.
The language is so specific.
Yeah.
It's cool how that reflects the way they observe nature. But maples aren't the whole story, right? There are other trees that contribute to Kyoto's fall palette.
Oh, definitely. Ginkgo trees, for one. They add those bursts of brilliant yellow. Most people know the ginkgo nut, but have you ever thought about how huge these trees get? Over 30 meters tall, some of them. And they can live for centuries.
Wow, that's taller than my house.
Yeah.
It puts things in perspective. Those golden ginkgo leaves.
Yeah.
They're like little pieces of history falling down.
A good way to put it. And then you've got the Yurihara. Its name translates to unripe melon skin, which I know it's a weird one, right?
Unripe melon skin. Now I gotta know why they call it that.
The bark, it has this greenish gray color, kind of like an unripe melon. And the leaves on this one are interesting too. They start yellow, then gradually shift to red as autumn progresses.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's got a slow burn compared to those maples that just boost into red all at once.
Exactly. And then there's the Yamarushi. It's a mouthful, I know. But this one typically grows higher up in the mountains. So imagine pops of color against those hillsides. And the name Yamarushi actually means mountain lacquer because the sap it produces.
They use it for lacquerware, traditional Japanese stuff.
You got it. So it's not just beautiful, it's practical too. Adds another layer to how people value these trees.
Man, this is why I love doing these deep dives. We start with fall colors, and suddenly we're learning about history, language, art, even crafts.
It's all connected.
All right, so we've covered the science, the variety of trees, the cultural context. Now let's get specific. What are some of the places in Kyoto that are famous for their incredible fall foliage? We've got temples, gardens, even some natural landscapes mentioned here, but I think we can go beyond just listing them, right? Let's dive into what makes each one so special.
Let's do it. I'm ready to explore.
Great. First on our list is Tenryuji Temple. And this one's kind of a big deal, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Tenryuji is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And the history is fascinating. It's been through a lot, multiple fires over the centuries. Imagine that.
So when you walk through Tenryuji today, you're not just seeing old buildings. You're seeing resilience. Those structures were rebuilt again and again. That adds a whole other layer to that idea of impermanence we were talking about.
It really does. And it makes you think about all the people who've walked those same paths, admired those same fall colors for generations. There's a real sense of continuity there.
The article mentioned something interesting about the garden at Tenryuji. Apparently, it was designed to frame the fall colors of the surrounding mountains.
It was. The garden acts as a kind of living canvas. The mountains are the backdrop, their colors changing with the season, and they thought about that centuries ago when they laid it all out. It's incredible.
It's like nature itself is part of the artwork. Okay, next up is Aikando Temple, which is actually nicknamed Momiji no Aikando. Aikando of the maple trees. I mean, the nickname says it all, right? This place is famous for its fall colors.
And for good reason. It's been a celebrated spot for autumn leaf viewing for over 1,000 years. Think about that. Over a millennium of people coming to this very place to see those colors.
1,000 years. It makes you wonder, what was Kyoto even like back then? Were people as obsessed with fall foliage as they are today?
It's a fascinating question, right? 1,000 years ago, Kyoto was already the imperial capital in the Heian period, known for its art, culture, a very refined aesthetic sense.
So it's safe to say they appreciated nature's beauty back then too.
Oh, absolutely. And Aikando, with its history and that natural setting, it would have been the perfect place to experience that.
Okay, last on our list for now is the Momiji Tunnel.
This one just sounds magical.
It really is something else. You're on a train, and suddenly you're surrounded by this tunnel formed by maple trees, branches overhead, intertwined, creating this canopy of red, orange, yellow.
Like something out of a dream.
And here's the coolest part. During peak season, they dim the lights on the train as you pass through, so you can really experience those colors.
No way. That's brilliant.
It's about creating an immersive experience. Now, there's a scientific reason for it too. In low light, our eyes use those rods, the photoreceptor cells that are more sensitive to light and dark.
But they're not as good with color.
Right.
Right, so by dimming the lights, they actually help your eyes pick up the nuances of the fall colors even better.
So it's not just a gimmick, it's science in action. I love that. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, from the science of those colors to the history of these incredible places, and this is just the beginning. We'll have to take this up next time.
Until then, I'm looking forward to diving even deeper into these locations and what makes them so special.
We'll be back soon to explore even more of Kyoto's autumn wonders. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to our Kyoto fall foliage adventure. I don't know about you, but I'm already dreaming of maple trees and temples.
It's hard to resist the allure, isn't it?
Last time, we were talking about how those train lights get dimmed. as you go through that Momiji tunnel. That whole idea of darkness making the colors pop even more, it's stuck with me.
It's a really clever way to enhance the experience. Those reds and oranges especially, they really seem to glow in low light.
It's like a secret visual trick. But Kyoto isn't just about train rides, right? The articles also talk a lot about how important temples and gardens are to the whole fall foliage scene.
Oh, absolutely. They're not just random collections of trees, are they? They're designed spaces meant to showcase nature in very specific ways.
Like living art installations. And one that really caught my eye was Tofukuji Temple. Have you ever seen pictures of that Tsutenkyo bridge?
Ah, yes. The one that looks like it's floating above a sea of red leaves.
That's the one. It's breathtaking. And apparently, the garden surrounding the bridge was designed centuries ago to frame those fall colors.
It's true. The placement of the trees, the paths, even the water features. All of it carefully orchestrated to create a specific aesthetic. And they were thinking about that hundreds of years ago. It's mind-blowing.
It really is. It's like they understood the power of those fall colors and wanted to present them in the best possible way.
It speaks to that deep connection between Japanese culture and the natural world. The changing seasons, especially autumn, are more than just a phenomenon. They're a source of inspiration, even spiritual meaning.
It's like those gardens are a reflection of that whole worldview, not just pretty spaces, but expressions of something deeper.
Exactly. They invite us to slow down, observe, appreciate those subtle changes in nature.
All right, so we've got the Momiji Tunnel, Tofukuji Temple. What other hidden gems should we be looking for in Kyoto?
Well, if you want something a little more intimate, I'd recommend Ryoanji Temple. It's known for its Zen rock garden.
Oh yeah, the one with the raked gravel and the rocks. But what does that have to do with fall foliage?
During the fall, the maple trees that surround the rock garden turn these incredible colors. So you have this juxtaposition, the stillness of those rocks, the carefully raked patterns, and then this explosion of life and color all around them.
It's like a meditation on permanence and change, all in one place.
That's a perfect way to put it. Visually, it's stunning. That white gravel, the gray rocks, and then those reds, oranges, yellows from the maples. It's a real feast for the eyes.
So you get that peaceful Zen vibe, but with this vibrant reminder that nature is always in motion. Sounds amazing.
It's a unique experience, that's for sure. Ryoanji might be famous for its rocks, but in autumn, those maple trees definitely steal the show.
It's incredible how many different ways there are to experience fall colors in Kyoto. We've had those big sweeping views like the Momiji Tunnel and that bridge at Tofukuji, and then these quieter, more contemplative spaces like Ryoanji.
That variety is part of what makes Kyoto so special. It really caters to different tastes and moods. Whether you're looking for those breathtaking vistas or a moment of peaceful reflection, Kyoto has something for everyone.
Okay, but what about the wider landscape? The articles mentioned a few places outside the city center that are supposed to be amazing for fall colors, places where you can really see the scale of it all.
Well, in that case, we have to talk about Arashiyama. It's a district on the outskirts of Kyoto, known for its natural beauty, and autumn is when it really shines.
I've heard of Arashiyama, isn't that where the bamboo forest is?
Yes, but there's so much more to it than that. Imagine entire mountains covered in maple trees. During the fall, it's like the hillsides come alive with color. The views are just breathtaking.
It sounds incredible.
And there are so many ways to experience it. You can stroll along the Hasegawa River, take a boat ride. There are even these traditional flat-bottom boats you can ride in, which adds a whole other layer to the experience.
The articles mentioned something about boat rides, yeah.
They're very popular. It's a really unique way to see the fall colors with those hillsides rising up all around you. And if you're feeling adventurous, you can even experience traditional Japanese cormorant fishing on the river.
Wait, cormorant fishing? What's that?
It's an ancient fishing technique where they use trained cormorants to catch fish. The fishermen control the birds with leashes and use torches to attract the fish. It's a really unique tradition.
Wow, so you can see those amazing colors and experience a piece of Japanese history all at once.
Exactly. Arashiyama is a beautiful blend of natural beauty, culture, and unique experiences. It's definitely worth a visit during the fall.
Arashiyama is officially on my list now. Any other hidden gems you want to share before we move on?
Well, if you're really looking to get off the beaten path, I'd recommend the Kurama area. It's north of Kyoto, known for its hot springs, ancient temples, and stunning natural scenery.
Kurama. I think I've heard of that. Isn't that where they have that crazy fire festival?
The Kurama Fire Festival, yes. It's quite a spectacle. But even without the festival, Kurama is a beautiful, tranquil place, lots of mountains, dense forests, and in autumn, those forests turn into a sea of color.
So it's like a peaceful escape where you can soak up the fall colors without the crowds.
Exactly. You can hike, visit the temples, relax in the hot springs. It's a great way to immerse yourself in nature.
I bet the colors are even more vibrant out there, away from the city lights.
You're right. The lack of light pollution really makes a difference. It creates a truly magical atmosphere.
Okay, Kurama is going on my list too.
Huh.
This is all so tempting. But I have to admit, it's getting a little overwhelming, all these amazing options. How do people even choose where to go in Kyoto during the fall? There's just so much to see.
Well, that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Kyoto offers such a diverse range of experiences. You can really tailor your trip to your own interests. Whether you're a history buff, a nature lover, or just looking for a beautiful escape, Kyoto has something for everyone.
You know, I'm realizing that's kind of the theme here. We started with what's so special about Kyoto's fall colors, and we've uncovered this whole world of possibilities.
It really speaks to the richness and depth of Kyoto, both culturally and naturally. And autumn might just be the perfect time to experience it all.
It definitely sounds that way. This whole journey through Kyoto's fall colors has been amazing. But I think we need to take a short break for now. We'll be back soon to wrap up our deep dive into the magic of Kyoto's autumn palette. Stay tuned. We're back, and still immersed in the world of Kyoto's autumn colors. From the science of it all to the history, those hidden gems, it's been quite a journey.
It really has. Kyoto in the fall. It's more than just a visual experience. There are so many layers to it. Nature, culture, history, even spirituality, it all kind of blends together.
It's like we keep peeling back layers and finding something even more interesting underneath. But before we get too deep into that, there's one more thing from the articles that I wanted to touch on. One of them talked about how even if you visit the same spot year after year, Kyoto's fall colors are never quite the same.
Ah, yes, that's an important point. It's a reminder that nature is always in flux, always changing. The colors can vary depending on so many things, the temperature that year, how much rain they got, even the specific trees that are growing in a particular spot, it all plays a role.
It's like nature's own art show, and every year you get a slightly different exhibit. It's never exactly the same.
And that unpredictability makes it even more special, wouldn't you say? Each year's display is unique and fleeting. It's here one moment, gone the next.
It makes you appreciate it even more. You can't just look at a photo and think you've seen it all. You know, this whole deep dive has got me thinking. Knowing what we now know about the different types of trees, the science behind the colors, doesn't that change how we actually see fall foliage? It's not just a mass of colors anymore.
Absolutely. When you can identify a specific tree, like that Iroha momiji, and you know its connection to precious memories, it adds a whole other dimension to the experience. It's like the difference between just looking at a painting and actually understanding the story behind it, the artist's technique, the symbolism.
Yeah, like having a guide in an art museum. They put out details you might have missed otherwise.
Exactly. It's about active observation. You start noticing the subtle differences between the trees, their shapes, the way the light hits them. It becomes a much richer experience.
It's like those I Spy books we had as kids. But instead of looking for hidden objects, we're looking for specific types of trees, noticing their unique features.
I love that analogy. And it ties back to what we were saying earlier about the Japanese perspective on nature. It's about slowing down, appreciating those subtle variations, finding meaning in those changes. It's a different way of seeing the world.
It's about connecting with nature on a deeper level, not just taking it at face value. And Kyoto seems like the perfect place to do that.
It really does. With its rich history and cultural traditions, its incredible natural beauty, it's a unique place to experience the magic of autumn.
Well said. This deep dive has been a real eye-opener, not just about Kyoto, but about how we experience nature in general.
That's what we're hoping for, to spark curiosity, get people thinking about things in new ways.
All right, before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a little challenge. We've talked about how Kyoto's fall colors are always different, always changing. So next time you're out in nature, wherever you are during the fall, try to really see those colors. Notice the subtle differences, the way the light plays on the leaves. Maybe even try to identify a few different types of trees. Let that knowledge deepen your appreciation for the beauty that's all around us.
That's a wonderful challenge. The world is full of wonder if we just take the time to notice it.
So true. Well, that's it for our Kyoto adventure. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of fall foliage. Until next time, keep exploring.